Buddhism, one of the big five religions with over 500 million followers, founded in ancient India during the 6th century by Siddhartha Gautama, who became known as the Buddha or the Enlightened One. Upon enlightenment, the Buddha began teaching his understanding of life and a path to alleviate suffering known as the Four Noble Truths, those being 1. Life is suffering. 2. This suffering is caused by attachments, cravings, or desires. 3. Life suffering can be ended through nirvana or enlightenment. 4. The way to reach enlightenment is by following the Noble Eightfold Path. But before I explain the Noble Eightfold Path, who was the Buddha, and why should you take his advice? Well, the Buddha, or Siddhartha Gautama, was born into a noble family around the region of modern-day Nepal in 563 BCE. He was raised in an abundance of wealth and luxury, but was never permitted to leave the palace walls, on account that his parents never wanted him to see any of the sufferings of life, such as sickness, old age, and death. However, after years of asking his father to leave the palace walls, he finally granted his request and allowed him to tour the city, accompanied by a guard. Upon his trip around the city, he witnessed all three sights his parents never wanted him to see, seeing a sick man, an old man, and a dead man. This led him to contemplate the meaning and purpose of life itself. So at 29 years old, Siddhartha set out on his spiritual journey, renouncing all of his lands and titles in search of the alleviation of the suffering of the world. This event is now known as the Great Renunciation, or the Great Departure, and it marked the beginning of Siddhartha's spiritual journey. As he set out to travel the region as a penniless beggar, he found and studied with renowned spiritual teachers and mastered various meditation techniques and philosophies prevalent in ancient India at that time. However, he found that these teachings and practices did not lead him to the enlightenment that he so desired. So, he engaged in extreme ascetic practices such as fasting and near self-mortification in an attempt to transcend these worldly desires, but this method did not work either. He soon realized that this would lead him to a quick death before it led him to enlightenment. So, he turned his focus towards meditation techniques and a middle path between extreme ascetic practices and a path of self-indulgence. After 6 years of his spiritual journey from home, Siddhartha Gautama reached a state of enlightenment while meditating under a Bodhi tree in Bodh Gaya, India. Upon enlightenment, the Buddha delivered his first sermon to a group of 5 ascetics in Deer Park near Varanasi. This became known as the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra, or Setting in Motion the Wheel of Dharma. In this message, he expounded upon the Four Noble Truths and the Noble Eightfold Path, laying out the foundation of his teachings. He then established his first monastic community of monks and nuns, known as the Sangha, to support the practice and propagation of his teachings. He ordained his first disciples and provided them guidelines for their ethical behavior, conduct, and meditation. He spent the rest of his life traveling throughout India to spread the Dharma to spiritual seekers and lay people alike, delivering discourses and demonstrations of his miraculous spiritual powers such as telepathy, levitation, and manifestation of the divine light. Finally, the Buddha passed away at the age of 80 in Kushinagar, India, as he attained parinirvana, or the final nirvana. Now, let's look at the Noble Eightfold Path, which are the core tenets of Buddhism and offer a practical framework for living a meaningful and enlightened life. It consists of 8 interconnected principles that you see here. The first is right understanding, developing a clear and accurate understanding of the nature of reality, including the Four Noble Truths and the law of karma. Second, right intention, cultivating wholesome intentions and motivations such as compassion, kindness, and non-harming. Third is right speech, speaking truthfully, kindly, and mindfully, avoiding harmful or decisive speech such as lying, gossip, or harsh words. Fourth is right action, engaging in ethical conduct and behaving in ways that promote well-being and harmony, while abstaining from actions that cause harm, such as stealing or harming living beings. Fifth is right livelihood, which means choosing an occupation that is ethical and aligned with the Buddhist principles. Sixth is right effort, making a persistent and sincere effort to cultivate wholesome qualities such as mindfulness, compassion, and wisdom, while gradually overcoming unwholesome tendencies. Seventh is right mindfulness, cultivating present moment awareness and mindfulness in all aspects of life, observing the body, feelings, and mind, and phenomena without attachment or aversion. The 8th and final path is right concentration, which is developing mental focus and concentration through practices such as meditation, leading to deep states of absorption and insight into the nature of reality. By following the Eightfold Path, practitioners aim to gradually overcome suffering and attain liberation from the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. This cycle is known as samsara. Samsara is the reincarnation cycle believed in Buddhism to perpetually be reborn across one of 6 realms of existence until all of your karma has been dissolved. Now that might be a lot to unpack, but simply put, all of our thoughts or actions cause either negative or positive karma attachments to be placed upon ourselves. This karma causes all sentient beings to be reborn after death into a realm fitting our karma, meaning we can be born into either the god, demigod, human, animal, ghost, or hell realm, as you see depicted in the Wheel of Samsara in front of you. The goal of Buddhism can be understood as reaching parinirvana, as Siddhartha Gautama himself did, signifying the complete liberation and cessation of suffering for enlightened beings. But for now, that's all you need to know to have a general understanding of the core teachings and tenets of Buddhism and the life of the Buddha himself. If you have any questions about the topics I've covered today, or would like a separate video explaining any parts of Buddhism in further degree, just let me know in the comments down below.